Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And for Shining Light on Shadows, we're going to be focusing on that topic for both of our April shows. Today, episode 47, Looking Back, Moving Forward, the Cycles of Healing After Sexual Assault. Our guest is Kenneth Rogers Jr. My name is Neil Parek. Oh, wait. I'm on the wrong side. We can't do it. We can't. That no.
There we go.
That's better. My name is Neil Parek, and we are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and my website. Thank you to everyone who is watching on replay, because we know a lot of people, Thursday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, may not work for you. Thank you for coming back and watching later at a time that you can watch. We certainly want to let people know that hopefully you saw from the opening, and if you saw any of the posts about the show, we're going to be talking about some very sensitive issues, sexual assault. So we just want to give people a little bit of a trigger warning. If that's something that you're not comfortable engaging with at this moment, please, by all means, walk away, press pause, come back and watch when you are in a better place to do so. There's no obligation. Dawn, it's always important that we make that space for people, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We want you to take care of yourselves. That's the most important piece. As you can see, Neil, I have my teal ribbon pin on today.
Absolutely.
And my teal turtle, because teal is the color for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So I wanted to make sure I was representing.
Absolutely. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Dawn, you've been working on this issue, talking about this, has been an advocate for 30 some years. Just take a quick moment before we get into the show. Why is it important that we have a month set aside to raise awareness about sexual assault?
Yeah. Well, I think that there's a lot of reasons why it's important. The first reason for me is that sexual assault is something where there's a lot of victim blaming that happens, both intentional and unintentional victim blaming. And I think it's incredibly important for us to shine a light on how we treat and talk to and honor survivors of sexual assault. It's a very different type of trauma that people experience. It's very difficult for people to prove that something has happened to them, because oftentimes it's their word against the perpetrator's word. And so there are so many specific reasons why this is such an important month. The other is the stats. Depending upon where you look, it's 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. And we need to be talking about it and raising awareness about it and talking about prevention of it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think that one of the things that I think about is that it creates space for people to share their stories, to know that they are in the company of others who have gone before, who have dealt with these issues, who can help offer some comfort, some advice, even just a supportive shoulder. And I would like to just thank you for being that shoulder, Dawn. When I shared with you that I was also a survivor and was still reluctant to talk about it publicly, I could always count on you to help me find that voice, help me be comfortable with that. And what we're going to talk about today, and Kenneth is going to join us in just a minute, is about how that process of healing, that process of kind of recovery, is anything but a straight line. It kind of meanders and goes all over the place. And really, in the title of the show, the idea of looking back in order to move forward. There's a lot of ups and downs and a lot of twists and turns. Just when you think you figured it out, there's still more work to be done.
Yeah, that statement couldn't be any truer. And for somebody who's, been in this advocacy for the last 30 years, there is not a day that goes by in my life that I do not think about what happened to me. Not a single day in 32 years that it doesn't resonate for me sometime throughout my day or my night.
And you just have to figure out how to work with it, and how to sometimes you have to let it stop you and
Yes.
Process it and work through it. Other times, if you've figured out how to compartmentalize a little bit, put it over here, do what you need to do, come back to it, etc. Let's go ahead and just say hi to a few folks that are watching real quick. John Borstein is watching from New York. Greetings and happy birthday, Emily, from New York. I should let folks know that Emily, my daughter, is celebrating her birthday today, her 13th birthday.
Yay, Emily.
And there's a big part of me that was wondering whether we should have done a show on the mental health impact of having a 13-year-old, because it's not that bad yet. It's only been a couple hours, but of course I am very proud of her, and I think she's amazing. And I know that our next viewer may have some thoughts about her as well. My mom, who's watching from Hastings-on-Hudson, Sudha Parek. This is Emily is her eldest granddaughter, and I know that she loves her very much. And Mom, you've been really great to Emily, so I really want to thank you for that. Feel free to, if you pop a comment on, we'll either get to it early or maybe circle back to it at the end. And then, Dawn, I want to give you a chance to give a hello to our next viewer.
Our next viewer is Jim Neuburg, my amazing, fantastic husband, who is right in the next room, who I love with all my heart and soul.
Absolutely. I love him too. Just so
I know you do.
I think he's great. I love him because of how much he loves you. And,
yes.
And that's a lot. Before we bring on Kenneth, I want to give a quick shout out to Digimentors, the production firm, the social media and production firm that I work with, that gives pro bono support for us to do this show. We're in year 3 of Shining Light on Shadows, and I wouldn't be able to do it without the support of my friends and colleagues at Digimentors. So I want to thank them for all of their support, and want to also mention that we have Kate watching from, you mentioned her earlier. Hello from downstairs. It's a good thing she just joined because she missed the whole intro. But we'll catch her up. Through. And my mom says happy birthday to Emily. So thank you, Mom. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into this topic. Again, our guest is Kenneth Rogers. Looking back, moving forward, the cycles of healing after sexual assault. And Kenneth wrote a blog post meditating on April, a time of anticipation, reflection, and healing. In part, he wrote, April is a time for remembering the past progressing toward the future and recognizing the cycles of life as we continue on our journey of healing and growth. It's for these reasons I believe April is also Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which is something we referenced earlier. We'll ask Kenneth to tell us a little bit more about that. Kenneth, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Kenneth.
We lost your audio.
Nice.
There we
Nice to
go.
be here.
Oh, there we
There
go.
we go.
Sorry. Hi. Nice to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit more, just based, working off that theme in the blog post. What's your sense that, why is it that April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month as opposed to it being in any other month?
Like I sort of mentioned in the blog post, it's very much about the looking forward to the coming of summer, the beginning of spring, but also you still got those cold mornings that still occur where things just I don't know, you still got to race back in and get a jacket, and then by the end of the day you're sweating because it's 80 degrees outside, and it's wrapped up in all those things, looking back into the past, looking towards the future, being in the present moment. It's all those things, and April is definitely all those things.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your story. We had the pleasure of meeting actually 3 years ago. You were the second guest on a show I co-hosted with Candice Sanchez, Unspoken Conversations with Candice. That year, we interviewed. She dedicated that season to male survivors of sexual assault, and you were our second guest after my episode. Can you share a little bit with our viewers about your experience?
Absolutely. So as a male survivor, my sexual assault happened when I was 8 years old. So from 8 to 10, I was sexually assaulted and abused by my sister. It was started off in the form of pornographic videos, and that's where the grooming really happened, really occurred, until eventually she said, "Hey, we should do what they're doing on the shows, on the movie that we're watching." And so this happened over the course of 2 years until one day, not sure why, no real explanation. She just said, we can't do this anymore. It's bad. And if you tell anyone, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. So for about 20 years, I remained silent, didn't say anything, because I was definitely afraid of getting in trouble. Not sure exactly what that meant or how impactful or bad it was, until around my late 20s. I was definitely entering the emergency stage, just suffering a whole bunch of panic attacks, huge amounts of anxiety, not being able to really leave the bed, thoughts of suicide, thoughts of attempting suicide, until eventually going to my getting hooked up with my therapist, and getting on medication, and really starting the process of healing and just addressing that past and what happened then, and then just kept moving forward from there.
I have a question for you, Kenneth. So when we were prepping for this show, we were kind of talking about, looking back and moving forward. And you pointed out how non-linear healing from trauma like this is. Can you go into a little bit more detail about what you meant by that, because it really resonated with me too, and how different moments in your life will trigger different things, and it's not a constantly moving forward spectrum, right?
Yeah. So when I started healing, my therapist was Susan, and she was very much she used The Courage to Heal by Ellen Bass and Laura Davis, and there's like 13 steps in there, and many times survivors see those 13 steps and they're like, okay, once I'm done with this step, I'm out of the emergency stage, then I go on to remembering, and then I go on to eventually forgiving, and then once I reach the end, I'm all better and I am completely healed. But that's not really the case when it comes to actually healing and growing, because there is no finish line. It just keeps going and building, um, and you oftentimes return back to certain parts of it, and it's not in a cycle. It's not in a one step after another manner. It's sometimes you might finish one stage, you might skip two or three other stages and go to a different stage that's listed at the end of A Courage to Heal, and then come back to the stage that you were in before. And so it's not really about trying to follow a certain system, but it's more realizing that there's going to be certain things that you keep gonna keep coming back to, and recognizing that there's going to be different triggers for different points in your life. Like if you have a child, then you might be particularly aware of your sexual assault or abuse around the time that they reach the age that you were sexually assaulted or abused, or trying to figure out why you grow so angry or so anxious around certain types of people, or when someone says certain things. Like me as a teacher, I found myself getting extremely anxious around uh, larger black girls, just someone who was like, I'm an adult. Started teaching in my 20s. I'm now in my 40s, and I found myself getting anxious around uh, black girls, because I felt like I was seeing my sister, and like they were going to hurt, abuse, or just make me feel lesser in some way. So it's really about recognizing that that cycle. Like it's you're going to come back to certain things that you thought that you healed from, and that's okay. Don't feel like you are really taking a step back. It's more like you're still growing. It's just you're in a different spot.
Yeah, I have one more thing to ask you about, and that is when we were talking earlier, you had talked about this model that was used when you did your healing process, and you talked about recognizing that it was very much geared for female survivors of sexual assault, correct?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about kind of what you did once you kind of realized that this was really geared towards females?
Yeah, see, I like how you keep telling me to talk about myself. I'm always reluctant. I'm like, should I say something? Like, Kenny, just say it. Okay, so I when going through therapy, and we were using The Courage to Heal, um, it's geared towards female survivors. And Susan and I would read the book together, stop at certain points, talk and discuss, and she would always have to change the pronouns to he rather than she, and sometimes she would slip up, and I would feel more isolated, more alone, more by myself, and she would always say like, "No, there's other survivors, there's other male survivors," and I would, say, "No, there's not," because it doesn't really feel like there are, and so I decided to write a book that was specifically about my experience as a male survivor, uh, talking about what it means to not only be a male survivor, but Black in today's society, where oftentimes Black people are seen as especially Black men, are being over sexualized rather than someone who can be the victim of sexual assault and abuse. And then from there, especially while I was reading The Courage to Heal, realizing like, hey, this is like this stage of the healing process, or this coping mechanism is a lot like the superheroes that I love. So uh hypervigilance, me trying to control every single little thing, is a lot like Batman and his hypervigilance in order to make sure that he doesn't feel like the lost little boy that actually lost his parents and watched them die. And I kept finding these connections between different coping mechanisms and the stages of the healing process, until eventually I was just like, well, if no one else is really writing about this and no one else is really talking about it, I guess I will. So I proceeded to continue to research, do these different connections between cognitive behavior therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, internal family systems, and how they can relate to these different superheroes, and help other survivors understand and break down these really complex ideas using comic books and the superheroes that they love, and like have some fun along the process, or in the process, because many times these books can be kind of either really daunting to take on, or just kind of boring with all of the language and the jargon. And healing shouldn't be just completely, doom and gloom. It should be like, all right, cool, this sounds really fun and awesome, and it'll help me become a better version of myself, and I can become the hero I want to be. So I just continue to write from there, just finding all these different superheroes, making those connections, publishing, writing, and it's been about 10 years, and I've still got some big ideas that I want to get down on paper.
That's
That's
great.
really fantastic. Go ahead, Neil.
I think that's an important point to emphasize, that the conversation around sexual assault is often focused on women, in terms of not just the stories that are told, but even the public perception of who is a survivor, or frankly, people talk about them as victims, and it's hard for men to come forward and share their story. You found that with like the Penn State stuff and University of Michigan, where you had athletes, football players, who had been abused by team physicians, and how are they supposed to explain that as a 300-pound lineman, 6'2", 6'4", that somebody got the better of them. So it's really helpful, Kenneth. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I was watching an interview with Terry Crews, and he was talking about that. He was like, many people ask, like, why didn't you defend yourself? Why did you let that happen? Rather than, I'm really sorry that happened to you, and that shouldn't have happened. It more became, victim blaming, victim shaming, which isn't right.
Which is unfortunately something that happens to men and women in that position. That's something certainly not unique. Dawn, I want to bring up your blog post as well, because I know there's a lot of stories that you can focus on. What you wrote. You can't move forward if you don't look back. Looking back has helped me move forward, recognizing how far I've come and honoring the work I've done for myself and my community is essential to continuing that journey. You wrote a book about your experience, the blue curtain, the blue flower curtain rather, which we always like to share with folks and talk about how great the book is. But to do that, you had to go back 30 years to the time of your incident doesn't really cut it for me. Your very violent rape and you know being shot at, being left for dead. You have to go back and read the court transcripts. So it's not just a question of looking back and kind of doing the work of thinking about the experience or kind of putting yourself back, in that moment. But you actually read transcripts and, talk about putting yourself back in those shoes. As difficult as that was, I can imagine, was it worth it?
100%. So I wanted my book to be as authentic and true as I could possibly make it. And I had memory gaps, things that, I had blocked or dismissed, or, during the court hearings, I had disassociated because I just couldn't be there in that moment. And so what really spurred me on to do that was that I didn't remember a single word of my mother's victim statement that she gave during the trial. And it was bothering me. I was like, gosh, I know she got up there and said something, but I don't have any idea what she said. And my mom had passed away a couple of years previous to me going and exploring the transcripts. And after reading her words, and realizing like how incredibly painful it was for her to sit and watch what had transpired with her daughter and having a child of my own, it was transformative for me to realize the ripple effect of what happened to me on all these people that were in my life that I had, and I'm going to get corrected for this, but this is the way that I felt at the time. I had selfishly focused solely on how much this hurt me and how much it impacted me, that I wasn't even aware of the extent that my parents were affected, that my brother was affected, that my friends were affected. So going back and really like reflecting on all of that helped me tremendously in moving forward and realizing that this was so much bigger than me. There was so many, many, many different aspects of this, and that sexual assault is something that happens to so many people. And when we say that everybody is affected by this, it's because they are. Because when your community is affected by something like this, and all the people around you, have been impacted in some way by sexual assault, even if you don't think that that's true, it is. And so that was a really big epiphany for me. It took me almost a year after reading those transcripts to be able to write anything. I had to take a huge pause. I couldn't do anything. I was kind of like, whew, I gotta take a deep breath and like really realize the impact of what looking back actually did for me.
It's not easy. It's doing that kind of deep dive it will definitely take a lot out of you. That's why I asked the question the way I did. Was it worth it? I know that there's value in doing that, but that's a lot of pain to revisit. That's a lot of if you have made progress on that journey, and you've put some distance between you and the event, or you and the emotions. I mean, it's almost counterintuitive to say, yeah, I want to go back in there. I want to feel that again. I want to, you know, it's hard to kind of really express how traumatic that is for someone.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was also validating because it was worse. Reading it was worse than what I had remembered. And I kind of like thought in my head, like, oh gosh, like all these things that I've been feeling over the course of the last 30 years, like they're all really real, and they're all really based off of something really traumatic that happened to me. And it was very validating to know that, like, I'm not making this up. Like, I feel these things for a reason. So it was very validating too, but very painful. It's always painful to revisit something that's really impacted your life in a lot of negative ways.
If you're just joining us or joined us midway, my name is Neil Parekh. That's my co-host, Dawn Neuburg, and Kenneth Rogers is our guest today. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we're talking about looking back, moving forward, and the cycles of healing after sexual assault. This is a twice a month show that Dawn and I do, focusing on mental health, shining light on shadows, a candid conversation about mental health. But as both of us are survivors of sexual assault, we always make sure to take time to talk about this issue in April and other times of the year as well. We don't just talk about it. And again, if, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if these, if this topic, if some of the references that we're making are too much for you at this moment, if this is not the right time for you to engage in this discussion, we certainly encourage you to pause wherever you're watching and come back and watch it later when you're in a better place. I want to welcome some of the folks who are watching, some of the comments that we're getting in particular, and I'm going to look off screen just a little bit because Mark Lee is watching on Instagram, and he's saying it's a powerful conversation. That it's not always physical. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's the women carrying on abuse from past relationships. That is an important point, and Kenneth spoke about that earlier. It's not just violence or assault from male to female. It is sometimes a woman to a man, and as I'll share in a little bit, sometimes it's obviously male on male as well. Mark also says sometimes the courts try to paint the victims as the abuser, or the infamous trope of the victim asked for it by what they wore or other stupidity. Sometimes families deny what is going on in their own situation, and certainly we've heard stories of that as well. Thank you, Mark, for those comments. My mom, who's watching, Sudha Parekh, watching on Facebook, it's a very emotional and challenging topic of sexual abuse, and appreciate your support in this. I want to give a shout out to Paula Kiger, who is watching from Tallahassee. Paula is a dear friend, a longtime colleague. Was also instrumental in helping me share my story for the first time. Deborah Kerr is watching from Fort Lauderdale as well. So I just wanted to thank some of the folks that are watching. I want to share, and I mentioned it at the top of the show, that I am also a survivor. I wrote a blog post not this episode specifically, but on that show that I mentioned that I co-hosted with Candace Sanchez, where we interviewed Kenneth, I shared my story for the first time, and it was a blog post where the headline, the graphic. I was only 7 years old when he knocked on my door, and it was a journey of discovery and healing. I had just moved to a new neighborhood, and my neighbor came by one day and said, "Hey, Neil, need some help with a Cub Scout project." And being the people-pleasing, kind of helpful gent that I am, I was sure. What can I do? What do you need? And we ended up going into a room in my house that I didn't usually go into, didn't have a need to go into, in my dad's office. And he did, it was anything but a Cub Scout project. It was, he proceeded to abuse me in various ways, and I had no idea what was going on. He left, and when my dad came home and saw the light was on, he asked me why was I down there? I had no need to be down there. And I said, "Oh, so and so came over. He had a Cub Scout project. We did this and this, and then he did that, and then he had me do this." And the words didn't mean anything to me. Obviously, they meant something to my dad. It's difficult because, as you were mentioning, Dawn, I don't have a lot of clear memories from that time. I was 7 years old, and I remember going across, next door, and my dad confronting this guy's father, and him being yelled at to come downstairs. And after that, it goes poof in my head. Like I'm standing in front of the door, and then after that, I have nothing. I don't remember walking back to my house. I don't remember any conversations afterward. And so I somehow went through my high school years knowing about the incident, but thinking, oh, I escaped without much harm. I did, no major mental health issues, and I'm not doing drugs, and I'm not, kind of the typical like extreme reactions. And it wasn't until much later that I came to realize how my body and my mind had kind of dealt with that trauma. But yeah, looking back on that part of the story, I know I didn't do anything wrong because I didn't know what was going on. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Neil. That's I know how deep that is for you, how deeply rooted that is for you, and how difficult it is for you to talk about it. So I'm very appreciative of the fact that you know that you did nothing wrong. And it's a lot of times it takes a long time to get to that place, because there's a lot of self-doubt, and it's a really difficult experience. And I know when we talked about the fact that you thought you had gone unscathed, that really when you started to come to terms with the fact that this impacted you the way that it impacted you, I don't think we would all be sitting here right now having this conversation. In fact, I know we wouldn't, if you did not have the absolute courage to step forward, share your story, and take it one step further, and create this show and this platform for us and for people, to be able to share their experiences as well. So I wanted to just take a minute and thank you for that very bold courage that you had to do that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dawn. It's this whole idea, this premise of looking back. I have a real difficulty with that. It's, I know that you talked about going through the court transcripts and the value that you had in doing that. And Kenneth, with your story, there's a lot to unpack. I mean, you said it took place over a number of years. I think you said between like the ages of 8 and 10.
Yes. Yep. 8 to 10. And my sister was 5 years older than me. So it was, she was 14, 15. And yeah, that's about when it stopped.
Those years are really hard. Do you have clear memories of what happened to you?
My memory is so weird and all over the place. Like, it's really hard for me to remember like anything really about my childhood. Like, I don't know. I find it so hard to be like, oh yeah, this happened at this time, and keeping track of all the different memories. It all becomes like a blur. Like even like going back to my hometown now and trying to drive around, it gets really difficult to remember like where some of the turnoffs are, because my mom's the only one that's there and I live in Baltimore and I rarely go back, but I should be able to still navigate after spending like 18 years, the first 18 years of my life there. But I find it extremely difficult, and memory is just, it's really hard to wrap my head around. But it's, I don't know, it's something I definitely have a struggle with, just trying to remember all those details. But like sometimes certain things will like hit me, like the way like the outline of the house that we used to live in before it was foreclosed on, like the where the rooms were, where the hallway was, the way the basement was at the time of the abuse, and then be like, oh yeah, it was like that. So little memories come at times, and when that does happen, I sort of like cherish those, and I'm like, okay, cool. I remember that, rather than beat myself up and say like I should remember more. It's more, all right, cool. You're doing good. You remember that part. You should hold on to that.
Kenneth, we actually we did a whole show about memory loss and trauma.
Yeah.
I remember very, very little before my assault when I was 21. Very little of my childhood, of my high school years, and I get very frustrated. So I like the fact that you said that you cherish when you have those memories, because I get so frustrated because, I'll be out somewhere and see a high school friend and they'll be like, do you remember that time that we did A, B, and C? And I'm like, nope, no idea. Have no idea, no recollection. My very, very best friend who I've had since I was very, very little, she has like all these amazing memories. And I'm always like, I can't, and she's like, I can't believe you don't remember that time that, we did this and this. So I'm going to take that little piece of advice. And when I do have memories, I'm going to cherish them, because I do feel very much like I got robbed of the good memories that I had from when I was growing up. Even though a lot of the bad ones are gone, the good ones are the ones I wish I had back. So
Yeah.
So I'm going to take that little nugget. Thank you for that.
Be kind to yourself and be like, oh, that's good. You're doing good. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
That's it's something that I was really curious about, and it's not to the same extent, Dawn, that you've talked about in terms of drawing complete blanks, but it's closer to, I think, to Kenneth's experience of having gaps and having, you know, some trying to define things. When I think back about to my experience, what's hard for me to talk about, and I'm just going to say flat out that I know my mom is watching, and you know, she has been very supportive this whole process. And when I first shared my story several years ago, she was in the house when I shared it, and she shared on as a comment. Went through a lot. I'm glad you're sharing openly about your experience when I was young. I'm hoping that I know she and my sister are watching together. I'm hoping that they saw the message I sent them on WhatsApp, because after that initial experience, I have very vague memories, but I know that over, I think, a 2-year period, I don't think it was 3, I engaged in sexual activity with the person that abused me in like different episodes, like, you know, this afternoon and another afternoon, like several times over the summer, and then the next summer. And I have no idea. I can picture where, but I have no idea how long it lasted. No idea of the frequency. And for years, I thought that I had initiated it. Like, I thought that we talked about this earlier, this idea of asking for it. I literally thought that I chose it. And that's always cast a pall on my memory of that, because I know that I had nothing. There was nothing I could do about that first incident. But the guilt and shame that I've carried about the other things that happened, I was between 8 and 11, maybe 12 at most, and I thought for years that I was old enough to make my own decisions, that I was, you know, in charge, I guess, is one way of putting it. And I know intellectually somewhere, or I learned, there was a long time when I absolutely thought that I had agency. And at some point I realized I didn't. Therapy helped. But not having the details, not having the memory, not knowing exactly what happened when, has always been hard. And it's been hard to shake that sense that I am completely, you know, that I wasn't at fault. I think that's something a lot of people deal with.
Yes, that is something that a lot of people deal with. Again, Neil, That was very brave of you to just do that. I know that you've been grappling with whether you were going to talk about that today or not. And so thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that. You were a kid. You were a little kid. And the person who abused you was older than you. And this was not your fault.
Yeah.
This was not your fault.
I actually think I didn't. I'd have to do like a real closer analysis, and my mom actually might have a better sense. But I used this picture when I first wrote the blog post. From other pictures I've seen, I think that actually might have been a year or two later than when I was first abused. And that picture is actually
It's okay.
that's the age I was.
It's okay, Neil.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's all right. Take your time.
And that's why this show has been so valuable, Don, and working with you. I mean, going back to when I first shared my story at home, I was in the home I was raised in. I was upstairs from where this happened. It was during the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, and I was just kept getting triggered by that. And I shared it in what I felt was a safe space because it was a Sunday morning show that a lot of regular viewers, and you helped me get through that. But I always felt like I was carrying the secret.
I don't know if you saw the comment from both your sister and your mom, but they said that they are always here to support you. And your mom says she understands how you feel.
Yeah. And, I know they're watching, and it's one of the things that, I appreciate. And I thought about, them having to hear this way. I really, and I could be wrong. I don't think that I had ever shared it with them or my sister, but it's hard to. That was actually one of the things I was thinking about. Is that fair? But it's been something I've been wanting to get off my chest, and Chitachi Egwu shared earlier. So thank you, Chitachi.
Can I say something?
Of course.
So we've been talking about cycles, right? Like the moving on, the cycles, the repetition. Like, dude, I hope you realize, like, you just said it was your daughter's birthday today.
And your daughter's 13.
Like, do you not, like, dude, like, your body has been, like, your mind's been preparing for this for, like, the last month. Like, if you go back and look at that picture, like, dude, you look exactly like your daughter.
Yep, you
like
do.
You just showed.
Are you serious?
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's uncanny.
Like, go back and look at that picture, my man. Like,
it's uncanny.
Like, the same smile, the same innocence. Like, you're grappling with the fact that not only the fact that you went through this horrible thing, but man, you're terrified that that's probably like that might happen to the person that you love more than anything else in the world. And that's the loss of childhood. Like, she's not a kid anymore. Like, she's a teenager. And you're battling with these thoughts of like your loss of your childhood. Like, dude, there are cycles, there are repetitions, and like this is something that like you've probably felt bubbling for at least 6 months now, because in the back of your head you've been like, oh man, this is coming, this is coming, this is coming, and then all of a sudden it's here, and then we have this show on your daughter's birthday, and you're like, oh man, like everything came to a head. So I hope you see these connections, these cycles, like everything's right there. And
Well, it's
so be
yeah.
kind to yourself and like give yourself space to like deal with that, and not just say, oh, I need a night, I need a day.
5 minutes.
You need you need a year, you need 2 years, you need time, you need talking, you need meditation, you just need kindness and sympathy for that little boy that was in that picture. The same kindness and sympathy that you would extend to your daughter.
I'll say that when you're talking about those cycles, kind of the and my sister knows this, but my nephew, her son, is 2 years younger than Emily, so he's 11.
Mm-hmm.
And and there might be a resemblance there as well, Amy. I don't know if you see it, but when he turned 7, I certainly felt it. And so it was kind of like the different triggers and the different, even when my neighbor's son was that age. I mean, that, it's a very strong emotion. But yeah, it's certainly something that's weighed on me, and and Dawn, correct me if I'm wrong, but you and I have been talking about sexual assault and thriving and surviving for at least like 8-9 years, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
I don't think I had told you about this
Not until we had our prep call
last week, right?
Yeah, not till we had our prep call. I did not know.
Yeah. I just want to thank the love I'm getting from, I don't think about it as your side anymore, Dawn, from Jim and Kate saying we're here to support you and everyone else. I realized, so Amy is in the car and listening. Amy, if you could picture, I was sharing, Kenneth was encouraged me to put the picture I shared of Emily that I put for her birthday up on the screen earlier, and the picture that we have now, if you know, is the one that I used on my blog post about my experience. And I'm wearing a red shirt with blue stripes. I'll send you the picture if you haven't seen it.
I think that Kenneth said some very wise words for you tonight, Neil, that you're going to really need to give yourself space and be kind to yourself.
Kenneth keeps doing that. I don't know what it is. And people watching, if they know me and, they kind of, you got a front row seat, Dawn, but I work myself up into a tizzy preparing for these shows, putting the posts out, and getting the emails out when I can, and for the Sunday show as well. And I just want to let folks know. I mean, you saw what Kenneth shared earlier, and again, I mean, sincerely, my friend, thank you. But 3 years ago, when we produced the show with Candace, it wasn't a live show. We recorded it, and then let the podcast, the audio podcast, get engineered and released, and then we released the video. And Candace and I watched the first show together, and I had people texting me and all that. But we watched Kenneth's show, the three of us, on a conference call. And as we were about to start the show, I just kind of was overwhelmed and just felt horrible. And I told you at the time, Kenneth, I felt like I let you down because I didn't do enough to promote episode 2 of that series where you were the guest, and I felt like I'd failed. And Kenneth, at the time, do you remember what you said, Kenneth? Do you remember the wisdom you dropped that day as well?
So people will find it. Like, if they need it, when they need it, it'll be out there, and they'll be able to get it when they need it. And that's the important thing.
And with that same kind of incredulity, dude, it's okay. Don't beat yourself. It's all right. Like, don't worry about it. It's all good. Whatever you did was enough. Whatever you did, So I just want folks to know that Kenneth has this, history of saying what needs to be said at the right time. And my sister agrees that this Kenneth guy is wise. I'm trusting that somebody else is driving. Her husband is at the wheel.
I'll make sure I tell my wife that you said I was wise.
Do you need a screenshot, Kenneth? We can just do a quick everyone smile and look at the camera, drinks down. Ready, smile. There we go. I've got proof for you right here, Kenneth.
There we go. Beautiful.
I the minute I started talking to you, Kenneth, I was like, I want to be his friend. Like, I need to be his friend. You have a very calming presence. Very, very, very soft, very calming presence. So, and Neil knows, like, I am the farthest from calm. Like, I'm on 100 all the time. My husband in the other room could attest to that. Like, I'm just like, I'm Speedy Gonzalez, man. I don't ever. I need to take a little bit of Kenneth wisdom with me. Everybody needs a little bit of that in their life. Well, Neil, I'm going to tell you, it's 7:03.
Yeah, 7:03. I know. I was about to talk about our next episode. I was going to try and bring this home.
All right.
I wasn't going to drop another truth bomb on folks.
All right.
So this is, again, it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we try and think of how to honor that every year. So our next episode is actually going to be next Thursday. It's not going to be 2 weeks. Just with everything going on, we have to juggle our schedule a little bit. So hopefully you can join us next Thursday, April 16th. And our guest will be Serena Martin. And the topic is going to be sexual assault survivors' trauma isn't a competition. We've talked about this on this show. We've tried to kind of reinforce that, but the basic idea is that my experience, Kenneth's experience, Dawn's experience, one isn't worse than the other. One isn't more bad. And that's something that is hard to really come to grips with. I think there are a lot of people who feel that, well, what happened to me wasn't as bad as what happened to Dawn, so I should give Dawn more space, or I should let her. She's the real survivor. She really went through a lot, and what we're hoping is that it will dig into that with Serena and hopefully help people understand that their story is just as powerful because it happened to them. And it's like you just can't compare them. Kenneth talked about, if you don't mind my paraphrasing, Kenneth being abused by his sister over a 2-year period, some number of times. In terms of the frequency, the numbers don't matter. But is that better or worse than my being, abused by this neighbor under the guise of a Cub Scout project, and then I'll try and say the words, Dawn, continued to be abused afterward, even though I thought that I was in charge? Is that better or worse than being gang raped and shot and left for dead? I'll be honest with you. For all this time, I know that we say this every show, but I sometimes feel that Dawn's story is a little bit more not worthy, but more something. Dawn, do you mind sharing what you said at our? We'll end with this. What's your perspective on that? In terms of how your story compares.
I don't compare stories. My trauma is mine, and my story is mine, and how I have dealt with it is mine. And everybody gets to own their own story. And it happened to you, so therefore it is the worst because it happened to you. And that is 100% what I feel. I think Neil will talk about this on the next show, but I've talked about survivor guilt. This was a one-time, 45 to an hour experience for me. And I know many, many people who have been abused, throughout their childhood for many years, over and over and over again. So I think, we all experience those things very, very differently. But I don't ever compare traumas. I don't ever compare traumas.
It's just it's a fool's errand to do that.
Neil, we were remiss, and we did miss one comment that I really think that we should.
Of course,
it's a long comment, but
yes, Amanda's.
Yes, it's
Absolutely.
From Amanda, and I think this is a good kind of way to end the show anyway.
Sure.
She says, "Thank you for sharing your stories this episode. It hits home in many ways. Dawn nailed it. Family, friends, and the community are also affected, and it changes your outlook once you're a parent and see it from a different point of view." And to the gentleman who said it's what they wore, that happens so often, which is why I fully support Denim Day. Continued healing to all.
And just to clarify, I was reading a comment from Instagram when Mark said it's an example of what people say. He certainly wasn't endorsing that. But it is something that and Denim Day is something that you and I first connected on. So that'll always be a special day as far as I'm concerned.
Which is April 29th this year.
April 29th, the end of the month.
Yep.
Kenneth, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your story and sharing your wisdom. I'm good for another 3 years. I'll call you when I need more.
My pleasure.
But I really do appreciate you joining us. And look, hopefully people will be able to join us next week for our next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And good night. John says, good show, very real. Respect. Good night, everyone.